Up until now, there's been this grating ambiguity about what actually killed David. We've had to use guesses and process of elimination and even a goddamn pseudonym. But I've finally identified what the poison was. Now I just need to figure out how it got there. Or rather, who put it there. Which brings me back to here. An elevator shaft somewhere under or above ground, with kilometers of concrete facelessness and bureaucratic authority surrounding me on all sides. An enemy in every cubicle and every office of every floor of this temple, built to interpret the inscrutable divinations of a temperamental oracle named Share Price. Back in the belly of the beast. And yet I feel more at ease now than I have all weekend. Makes sense. Now that I know Noble's my enemy, I know where to aim. All that's left to do is pull the trigger. Good thing I didn't bring a knife to this fight. I brought my gun. And that sound just now tells me that it's playing its role perfectly. I'll never have a real use for a firearm with this much bloatware, but just by carrying it around and paying attention to when the hard safety flips on, I'll always get a heads up when the police have entered the vicinity. Hi, Detective Reyes, it's Morgan. Happened to get your contact info when you got me cleared for the crime scenes yesterday. Delete contact. Block this contact. Stop voice to text. How to stop voice to text. Just wanted to check in. Report this contact, voice to text disable. And advise you that Noble's scared shitless of you stopping in and nationalizing the place. So they might be a little uncooperative when it comes to fetching documents. Block this contact. It makes you think we're at Noble. My bad then. Forget I said anything. Whatever you do, don't start your investigation with their stock buyback program. Trying reverse psychology only works if I care what you think. Stop voice to text. About time. Thought I'd have to ride the elevator for the next half hour. Morgan, counselor, your presence has been requested on the upper floors. Deja vu. Might you have a moment to speak in private? Always, but who's asking? The board. What are the chances? I've been wanting to speak to them too. Evangeline Morgan. Helen Young. Thank you for making time in your schedule. Her posture, her tone, the fold of her clothes, professional, dialed up to 11. Corporate armor, full set, her guard is up. Just Morgan is fine. You're just a few minutes early, Morgan. Typical corporate never be the first one to show up pissing contest nonsense. It doesn't even make sense. They called me in here. How could I possibly be early? Oh, that's embarrassing. I didn't mean to catch you all off guard. I'll go wait outside in that case. You can all collect yourselves. I'm just surprised that Noble Electronics could screw something up as simple as the meeting start time. But I'm not well versed in the art of staring at emails. You've made your point, counselor. Don't push your luck. Not with these people. Might I dare to ask who these people are? You don't have time to remember their names, and it wouldn't do you much good either. Right, so they're not just rich, they're anonymous rich. The Mob Act guarantees a minimum level of security and peace of mind for any citizen who might be targeted due to their financial status. Spoken like a true believer, except Mob Act is what normal people call it. Touting the party line but allowing yourself one instance of rebellion, or just a slip of the tongue. I would never fault anyone for wanting their privacy, especially not job creators. But it must be pretty inconvenient not having a name to call them. Not really. Conversations with them are always one-sided. Sounds like a great environment to do business in. Look at the building you're standing in. We managed to eke out a meager profit somehow. So if it works. Didn't take you for the might makes right type. And I didn't take you for a clueless boor incapable of reading the room. Sorry, did I say something off color? I was only being casual since it's just the two of us in here. Maybe we should take advantage of this rare bit of privacy. Clear the air. You're here to ask about Sarah, yes? As I said before, I had no idea that Dr. Osher had been building an android on his private property. And I can say here and now that no one at Noble Electronics ever suspected that he was working to undermine the Tenet framework. She's trying to sound candid in her tone. She's choosing her words with a surgeon's scalpel. Was she coached? Is that the truth? Or is that your statement as VP of Android Futures? It's both, of course. Dr. Osher was always more than happy to hold himself up and work independently. We both know that. True, it can be pretty reclusive. I'm sure it caused all kinds of headaches, him disappearing on you all like that. Must have been especially difficult when he came back with breakthroughs that propelled Noble to the top of the industry. You should take a seat. If that's everyone, shall we begin? Friendly bunch. Is there a problem with the sound? Anyone get muted by accident? No. Okay. Thanks for having me. I don't want to take too much of your time. I'm actually a bit flustered having you all show up here. I didn't expect to talk to anyone higher up than a service associate. You're investigating the death of Dr. David Osher. Why wouldn't we take that seriously? Because you want me to go away. At least half of you do. The others aren't sure yet. You must be confused. The board is, as always, united in its decisions and its vision for the direction of this company. Uh-huh. A board of directors is just 13 roulette-rolling psychopaths who get together and vote on whether or not to execute their CEO every 6 months. None of them would be where they are if they were anything else. But I happen to know how that kind of person thinks. The way I see it, there are two possible outcomes. Option 1, you oppose me. Shut me out completely, stonewall me, stall me, and wait for me to walk into trial so unprepared and ill-informed that I inevitably lose. Obviously, I don't like this option. You can't be big fans of it either. If I lose, the world will learn that David Osher was killed by an android he programmed. That every customer you've ever had, and every lawyer they've ever seen on TV, and every firebrand, strapping young 60-year-old junior senator looking to make a name for themselves, will use your company balance sheet as their personal chew toy. The company is more than capable of, after which the state still might just gobble you whole, and throw down enough sanctions to deperson whomever among you cries no fair. The company and its allies at the Capitol can more than fend for themselves. Yes, probably, but not definitely. Which makes it a gamble. Still my turn to talk? Then on to option 2. You cooperate with me. I use what you give me, or forge for me, to win a trial proving that David wasn't killed by an android. When the markets open tomorrow morning, you all get another round of stock buybacks in on the initial dip. Then pat yourselves on the back for staying calm as you continue to profit off David's legacy for the next 100 years. And you won't even have to worry about him speaking out of turn. That's only if you win. If the company cooperates with you, denies that David was killed by... and the state beats you anyway, it would be catastrophic. Yeah, it's a gamble. But if at least some of your board wasn't considering taking it, I wouldn't be here. We're all busy people, and I'd hate to drive a wedge between such a close-knit group of friends, so how about this? Option 3, hedge your bets. What? Put a little on black, put a little on red, spread the love, and lower your risk profile. Don't make any statements about the trial. Tell the media the state's got your windpipe in a vice. Wait until just before the markets open Monday morning to send out your PR packages for rubber stamping, after you already know who's won. One way or another, this trial will be over before the end of the day, and you'll never hear from me again. So just don't shut me out completely for another few hours. And does anyone second that motion? Very well. We can answer some of your questions, Counselor. Better make them count, then. No reason to be shy now. The poison that killed David Osher has been identified as serotonin. You're familiar? It's one of our many patented materials, as I recall. You recalled it pretty easily yesterday. Gee, what's changed? But intellectual property law can be very complex, Counselor. I'm not sure how much I or anyone at the company could tell you about serotonin at this time. Well, if you can't tell me about it, who could? You did lead its development, didn't you? Yes, I oversaw the project, which just makes it that much harder to speak freely without compromising the confidentiality of the teams that reported to me. I understand. That sounds like bullshit, and I don't believe it. But I'm not asking for trade secrets here. It's a perfect match for the only foreign substance found in his blood. Serotonin is what killed him. The state will say the same. That's not possible. Care to elaborate? I'm sorry, but I can't say any more at this time. So much for cooperating. And if I were to ask you as an officer of the court, then I would ask you to be patient and wait until this afternoon. ADA Rockford has already called me to testify. Already? Damn it, I got cocky because the cops' late arrival. Emma must have gone straight for the throat first thing this morning and left the investigating for later. Hell, knowing her, she probably managed to ID the serotonin before she went to bed last night. So are we still having this conversation then? As I said, I'm sorry, but I have to take more than just my personal feelings into consideration here. There's a great deal at stake. Corporate speak for, you're too stupid to understand why I'm being dense. She's trying to shield the company, plain and simple. LARPing as Helen Young d'Arc on a crusade against government overreach. But if she's that busy defending Noble, she might be leaving herself unguarded. Why is she here anyway? Why am I speaking to her and not her lawyers? That's right, this is a vulnerable position for her. She wouldn't put herself in check like this, not unless she was forced to. So that's it. Acting as their mouthpiece isn't some honor for her. This is a punishment. She's being used as a meat shield. They're upset with her, perhaps even suspicious of her. Time to find out why. Has David's will been located? It had never gone anywhere. It's still in a safety deposit box. We'll retrieve it and have it read once the unknowns surrounding his death have been made into knowns. So David's will hasn't even become part of the equation yet. It might not be for weeks at this rate. Is that calculated, though? Whatever else the court ends up labeling her, Sarah is a remarkably lifelike android. Had things worked out differently, you might have wanted her as the A16 poster girl. Or A17, or 18. Could have driven a lot of sales for a cute little pout projected across the sides of skyscrapers. A hypothetical of a hypothetical. As has been made tragically obvious to all of us, that Android is nothing like the A16. That it may yet be associated with our products going forward is nothing more than a massive liability. And you wouldn't have the A16 without her, and if they could take her apart and learn from her, they could have the world. So is the motive to try and pry Sarah away from him? I have to admit I'm surprised you aren't more shaken up today, Miss Young. I'm processing. After all, you and David did have a history. You started at the same time, didn't you? Yes, we were colleagues and cordial with one another. Don't be so modest. You helped him create the one-point doctrine that saved the company. That is a gross exaggeration. Noble is far too large an organization to be affected by the contributions of any single individual. Suppose you're right. No one person could change Noble's fortunes overnight. Except for David Osher, of course. But he was a once-in-a-generation talent. The guy Noble chose for the advertisements and the one they commissioned editorials about. Sorry, you're right. I shouldn't have equated the two of you. I just hope his one-point doctrine doesn't fall out of favor now that he's gone. Yes, well, we certainly wouldn't want that. Well, she didn't exactly explode with rage, but she definitely reacted. There's real jealousy there. Whether it ever boiled over, though? I didn't mean to pry about your relationship with David, or lack thereof. I suppose I'm just curious about his standing inside Noble as a whole. David Osher was, and always will be, an outstanding contributor to the company's forward progress. Nothing will ever change that, not even if he was killed by one of his own creations. That would, of course, be a tragic element that would call for reconsideration of his legacy. She was almost off guard there, like she was surprised for me to be asking about Sarah ruining his reputation. Besides Sarah, David's reputation was crystal clean. He never went against the company once, did he? That's... Unless I'm mistaken and he and Noble were on bad terms. In that case, I might get the impression that some parts of leadership were actually glad to see him taken off the chessboard. That is not... Something buzzing in your ear. Fine. I suppose it makes no difference if you hear it now or at the trial or on your feet tomorrow. Dr. David Osher was being sued by the company for breach of contract. Satisfied? Now we're talking. Well then, I suppose that's... So you couldn't have mentioned this breach of contract earlier? Not without complicating the company's position unnecessarily, no. But there's no hiding it at this point. It'll all come out soon enough. There's a paper trail. Much more than that. We've been making moves like Date and Go for some time. Noble Electronics parting ways with David Osher. Must have been one hell of a breach of contract. What did he do? He betrayed the confidence of the board. Was he contesting the suit? Putting up a fight? Engaging in a legal battle against a mega corporation without even telling me? Until recently, yes. You mean until he died? How recently? We spoke on Friday. That was what you two talked about in his parlor? No, this was earlier in the day. We were in this room, actually. Him, me, and several members of our legal department. It was an arbitration. And did you come to an agreement? A compromise. He would resign from his position in 2 quarters, foregoing royalties on any products we would develop after the next 24 months. In exchange, he wouldn't be publicly fired, and he would still be credited on all past, present, and future firings. How very reasonable. On paper, maybe. No matter what the deal was, letting go of David Osher is insanity. Reasonable, yes. We ended on a good note, I'd like to think. We shook hands, even took a photo. Yeah, that looks... lovely. Something funny? Didn't know the board told jokes. They don't. That was legal, expressing their displeasure with how much paperwork my good note ending left them stuck with. Children. It was just one night of overtime. So while they were spending their Friday night blowing the ink dry, you paid a visit to David's penthouse. Something left unfinished? Professionally, it was a good meeting. There was no yelling, no finger pointing. Much cleaner than expected. But Dr. Osher did not want to retire. He didn't want to be forced out of the company when he was the one who... when he had contributed so much. I didn't enjoy doing that to him, so I came over that night to apologize to him. We talked, reminisced. When he brought out the drinks, I thought we'd been toasting to a new day. A few minutes later, he was dead. Because of that AI. That AI. Any idea how it came to be? As I said, I had no idea he was working on it. My question was more broad than that. If you really believe David built an AI, how do you think he did it? How does Noble Electronics think he managed to work around the tenants? It's quite beyond my area of expertise. And no one at the company could call themselves an expert in illegal technology. But some in the R&D department have theorized that he created what they call a wax-wane decaying priority loop, which, as I understand, is an unstable, resource-intensive, theoretical method for pseudo-randomizing the weight amongst preset tenants. Well, but as far off target as it gets with that guess. But that kind of inelegant brute force nonsense seems a far cry from the kind of thing David would create, and I seem to have taken us over a lot of time slot. But I didn't even get to wave goodbye. You're serious about this trial? Don't I look it? You're not just making a play, you're actually going to defend that thing. I'm just defending myself, Miss Young. Oh yes, of course you are. My mistake. I hoped you might be rooting for me, to tell you the truth. I may yet save everyone's stock options. The stock options will be alright either way. They always are. That gamble I offered your board, which outcome would you bet on? Finally, an easy question. What I would bet is that, whatever the outcome, the company will eat it up and shit it out with very little difficulty. You painted an ugly picture back there, but I've already seen the future. And it's just another marketing gimmick. The great Dr. Rosher, too smart, too bold, too far ahead of his time. What spark of his genius remains buried in the inspired animate 19? I guess that depends on... You were exactly right. He is more valuable to Noble as a dead man. Dead men can't step out of line, or put their foot in their mouth, or hold politically inconvenient opinions. To a good salesperson, a dead man is just another selling point. Pardon my outburst. I'm just tired. It's been a very long week for me. I'll let you prepare for your afternoon then, Dr. Young. No one calls me doctor. I ask them not to. You didn't want the title? At times I have thought very little of it, the PhD I earned from a Noble-owned school. Biochemistry. They couldn't have been a large department at Noble before they started work on warm androids in earnest. They probably didn't have many expectations for the program back when she was a part of it. But I was proud of it when I first got it. Something change? It never seemed to catch on. People didn't use it, so eventually I told people not to use it. A very high IQ social power play, you understand. David never insisted that people use it either. That's very different, and I think you know it. David Osher didn't have to.